fish hook.
Yeah.
Sorry.
When it comes to truly amazing animated movies, Disney is one of the best in the industry. Moana was released back in 2016, and this adventurous and family-friendly film is still one of the most favorites for many kids and even adults. But do you know the most interesting behind-the-scenes information about Moana? We bet you don't. So in this episode, we're going to reveal the facts that you haven't heard about Moana, even if you are the biggest fan.
No one goes outside the reef. We are safe here. There is no darkness. There are no monsters.
Disney's animated movie Moana is the story of a young girl who leaves the comfort of her home island to travel the ocean and, in doing so, meets a demigod and saves her people. The movie is very adventurous and it has so many messages that the filmmakers want their viewers to hear. Even though the story sounds kind of simple and nothing but entertaining, the filmmakers Ron Clements and John Musker revealed that there was a huge amount of work behind the scenes done and it took so much effort to create something incredible like Moana. From doing deep research to figuring out how to create the most technically advanced animated film Disney has ever done, we will reveal every important detail you need to know. The very first thing we need to start with is that the filmmakers had to do a really deep research to echo the South Pacific culture in the Moana movie. The film takes place on a fictional group of islands in the South Pacific, and it was really important to create the right vibe of this special location. You won't believe that, but the teams who worked on the Moana project took 3 trips to islands like Fiji, Bora Bora, Tahiti, Samoa, and others to learn the culture and to feel the atmosphere. What is even more impressive, the first general trip was made in 2011, then in 2014, it was the music and culture trip, and then the visuals were the focus of a 3rd trip in November 2014. It's incredible that it took the entire team over 5 years to work on the Moana film, as the movie dropped in theaters in 2016. In order to know where you're going, you need to know where you come from. It was a sentiment the people of the South Pacific impressed upon the filmmakers and is also echoed in Disney culture itself. But if you thought that the serious approach ended there, then you are mistaken, because the filmmakers even hired a council of experts to fact-check everything.
You told me to help our people. This is how we help our people.
In Tahiti, one of the elders said, "We've been swallowed by your culture. One time, can you be swallowed by our culture?" explained Ron Clements. We took that very seriously. It was extremely important for the filmmakers bound to history and culture, so they hired a team of local experts nicknamed the Oceanic Story Trust. The task of this group was to help with cultural references, advise on the story itself, help with the names and dialogues, and also make sure that Moana was staying true to the ideals and customs of the South Pacific. They know so much and we felt a responsibility to them, said John Musker. We kept them involved so we can keep this right.
I am Moana.
Hero of men.
What?
It's actually Maui, shapeshifter, demigod of the wind and sea.
Another really interesting thing is that the story of Moana wasn't really made up. The filmmakers were inspired by the historic mystery that happened almost 2,000 years ago. Moana's story is set 2,000 years ago, and if we take a look at actual history, we will figure out that the people of the South Pacific were the greatest explorers on Earth. They knew how to read the stars. They were exploring the sky and currents. However, their exploration stopped for 1,000 years, and no one really knew the reason why. The Moana's filmmakers Ron Clements and John Musker decided that it would be a really great idea to make a story and explain why the exploration stopped. Well, they were absolutely right, as the fans all over the world are in love with the movie and the story itself.
I was there that day. The ocean chose you.
Another great idea that the filmmakers brought to life is the ocean's character. We can see how the ocean pays Moana, interacts with her, cradles her, takes on familiar forms, and helps her as she becomes a teenager and embarks on her journey. Interestingly, in Maori language, Moana means ocean, and maybe that is why the girl and the ocean are getting along together.
You know, it'd be rude to refuse a gift from a goddess.
Speaking of the technical side of creating the ocean, Disney animators knew what their #1 technical challenge would be: how to animate all that water. As we have already mentioned, the crew did a really deep research on the islands, and a huge part of their research was about the ocean. They had field trips to a pool in North Hollywood and studied footage shot during a research trip to Tahiti. "We had a meeting every day for 6 months where we looked at this piece of shoreline," said Marlon West, head of effects animation at Walt Disney Animation Studios. "We called it the Shoreline Meeting." Even though the Disney team also drew inspiration from a custom animation program, it wasn't really enough to mimic the physics of water in different environments. The biggest problem was that it wasn't enough to be able to reproduce the physical properties of water. The biggest challenge was how to capture that and make you feel like how water exists in your mind or in your heart, said Marlon West.
Go save the world!
Maui! Thank you.
You're welcome.
The animation process was very difficult because the ocean was actually a character, and it was really important to make it look alive. When the water was a character, we had a very rough rig, and it was similar to almost like a sock puppet. And we would animate the water, and then we would work with the effects animators, and then they would make it actually look like water, with the bubbles and the water effects part of it, said Marlon West. We would do a simulation of water over the top of the animated character of the water, he continued. And also, if you can imagine a Ziploc bag full of water, if you shook it, you have bubbles inside it, so we would add those as well.
What do you say, little buddy? Giant hawk, coming up!
It's safe to say that Moana, with all these difficult special effects, became the most technically advanced animated film Disney has ever done. We all know that every Disney movie is better than the previous one, and we mean that they always improve their animation skills. As software and hardware advances, the production is constantly pushing what's available to its absolute limit. For example, Moana is 80% visual effects and shots. If you compare this movie to Big Hero 6, which was less than 50%, you will see the difference. Most of those effects are water, one of the hardest things there is to animate, and the effects team admitted this movie could not have been processed 5 years ago. Technologically, it just couldn't happen.
Well. Little Maui's having trouble with his luck. You little Sammy-dummy mini-god.
Let's talk about music a little bit in Moana. Being a Disney animated movie, Moana couldn't include the moments of amazing singing much like Little Mermaid or Aladdin. The filmmakers definitely want Moana to be a musical, so they included the Opetaia Foai music, who is the founder of the popular contemporary Pacific band Te Vaka. You can also hear Mark Mancina from Speed, Bad Boys and the Lion King, and Lin-Manuel Miranda. Lin-Manuel Miranda is actually the award-winning creator and star of Hamilton. If you have already watched Moana, you can definitely say that the musical scenes are absolutely incredible. But here's one interesting thing. Miranda's music was included in Moana long before Hamilton became a cultural phenomenon. Do you think Disney knew it would be a great idea to have a Hamilton connection as they predicted its popularity? Realistic much?
Congratulations on not being dead, Curly. You surprised me.
Disney movies are known for including so many other references, and eagle-eyed fans have noticed a Mad Max-inspired chase in the film. Remember the scene when Moana and Maui encounter the creepy group of Kakamora, who do really look like walking coconuts? The group of creeps chase Moana and her friend on really huge, massive boats, and it reminded many of us of the iconic Mad Max chase scene. Well, maybe the fans are not wrong, as you don't have to be an animation guru to notice that the visual effect of the characters hanging all over them in the chase scene was absolutely inspired by the visuals and actions of Mad Max Fury Road. Plus, Ron Clements and John Musker approved that this moment was indeed inspired by the iconic film.
One day, the heart will be found by someone who will journey beyond our reef.
Have you already watched Moana? What do you like best about this animated movie? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching!
I'm back. Mwah. It's Maui time!